Morning, guys. So I am back this Thursday to talk for just a couple of minutes of a few more causes of back pain that you probably didn't know. So this is the second part of a series. I'll probably actually end up making it a three-part series. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about different causes of back pain that you may not have heard of before that aren't even coming directly from your lower back. So just to clarify, today we are talking primarily about lower back pain. In the first video, which is actually in my live section and up on my YouTube if you want to check it out, a couple of the things that we covered primarily had to do with muscle weaknesses and different ways on how to strengthen these muscles. So we talked about the glutes, we talked about the pelvic floor, we talked about the concept of like a rotated, tilted pelvis. And today we're actually going to do something kind of cool. We're going to talk about it on the flip side. So today we're not going to talk necessarily so much about different muscles that are weak, but rather different muscles that are tight. And it's kind of one and the same issue because tight muscles can cause muscle weakness can cause tightness, so it's kind of a chicken and the egg scenario. But I want to teach you guys just a couple of techniques that I've learned just over the years from some really amazing colleagues of mine that are going to help with tight quads, tight glutes, and just lower back pain in general. So let's go ahead and get started. You are in fact going to need a couple of props today. I'll caveat with that. So I have got my handy dandy roller, which I love, and my tennis ball, which is probably the light of my life. And I am totally going to give one of my partners in crimes, Dr. Joanne Wolf, credit for this video. She was the one who originally taught me the power of the tennis ball. So today we are using a concept that's more commonly termed myofascial release, but in essence it is just kind of trigger point releases. So we're going to go over a couple different release techniques that we're going to use with the tennis ball, potentially with the foam roller. You can use virtually any spherical item and cylindrical item that can hold your weight. So I'm talking rolling pins, water bottles. Some people have like those like nice glass sphere objects. It might be a little aggressive to use glass, but like if you've just got like a household ornament that can support your weight, lacrosse ball, golf ball. So get creative. But we're gonna dive on in because I want to keep today's video a little bit shorter. So I'm gonna push you over here. And we're gonna start with back of the body, glute tightness. So in the first video, we talked about how weak glutes can actually contribute to lower back tension and pain. Today, we're going to talk about how glute tightness, particularly the piriformis, which is this teeny tiny muscle that kind of runs right along here in your glutes. It's a major stabilizer and responsible for a lot of different kind of rotation elements in your hips. That if this muscle gets too tight or overactive, it can in fact pull a lot of this lovely pelvic region out of whack and ends up making the lower back too long or feel too short. So to dive right into the actual release and stop babbling so much, I want you to find this kind of like fleshy, meaty part of your glute a little bit more on your side glute. So I want you guys to avoid getting into the more hip flexory IT band area. I know it's tempting, but we're going to come to that in a second. Find somewhere you can kind of dig around. I'm starting on my right side just because it's a little bit tighter this morning. And all I want you to do is very slowly start to shift your weight onto the ball. And sometimes it takes a minute or two, or a second or two, to find a spot that we are kind of like, ooh, like that's a little uncomfortable. So you want to find a spot, I think I got one, that's just a little bit uncomfortable. Like you shouldn't be in a horrid amount of pain or anything, and if you are, come off it and try again. But you just want to be at a spot where you're just kind of like, like there's a little bit something there. And then you just sit on it. And I really, really, really mean it. Just sit on it. Don't wiggle around, don't move, because in more traditional kind of like foam rolling techniques, if you've heard of that, they encourage you to use more of a massage approach where you like massage the muscle, you move around. This technique is more trigger point oriented, which means we're just gonna chill and sit on it and hang out and breathe. Don't forget to breathe. And as you breathe, just see how your body reacts. You'll see my knee is naturally just starting to fall out to the side. I'm not forcing that. Sometimes you'll feel little bits of referral. Like right now I'm actually feeling this. The tennis ball's in my hip. I'm feeling it down in my foot. So don't be freaked out if that happens. And then we can just start, just kind of shift around a little bit. And maybe take a little micro adjustment. Again, we're not wiggling on this thing. We're just taking a little shift and whoop, yep, got a little bit more aggressive. But still, I'm not trying to be like at a 10 out of 10 in terms of discomfort level. That means you're gone way too far. So try to chill it out a little bit. And again, my knee just kind of naturally went that way. We'll see what happens. And basically what we're doing right now is releasing that lovely little piriformis muscle along with some of the other glute muscles in there, the glute medius typically, and I'm a little bit more on glute max, I think, but anywho. You just wiggle around, and there's no real right or wrong spot. Everyone's gonna be a little different, and it may even feel different on the other side. You may find that you're not tight in the same spot. So let's go ahead. Now we'll come off this section here, and we're just gonna do a little wiggling, rolling around, just to bring some feeling back into your glutes. And let's just do the other side. Just for giggles, we're just gonna be here for like a minute or two because I do have one more release that I wanna show you. So you're gonna find, again, kind of similar section here. Similar section. And just feel it out. Find somewhere in that kind of side glute area. Not all the way around towards the front of your hip. We'll get there in a second. And it's funny, I started this video like, yeah, you could use a foam roller, but I think we're gonna use the tennis ball for the whole video. I typically like the tennis ball just a lot more in general. I feel like you can get much more targeted. The foam roller is cool, but it can get pretty aggressive and it's a little bit harder to control your weight on it. So it brings you to spaces that are just a little bit too uncomfortable, I think. But pick your poison, you know, both work. Breathe into that, yay, hip is releasing. My hips have been having all types of feelings this morning, so this is really nice. And the more you can kind of just sink into this, the more release you're gonna get. So just focus on that breath. Good. Maybe make one little micro adjustment. We'll be here for like another 30 seconds. And kind of the blessing and the curse of this release technique is that it really is time oriented. So when I was learning this from my friend Dr. Jo Wolf, who I'm gonna link, I highly recommend you check out her page because she's just such a talented, she's a physical therapist and just so talented at what she does. And she said, you know, 90 seconds is pretty much the minimum to be on any given spot. So I'm gonna hold true to that as well. And you just kind of hang out in a section for at least 90 seconds. I'm usually in one place for a lot longer, but you feel out what your body needs. So we're gonna glide right off. Let's just do a little bit of, get some feeling back in those glutes. And hopefully just from that, you guys got a little bit of release. So the goal with that technique is to actually feel things start to calm down, get some alleviation from the discomfort. If you're just sitting there in discomfort the entire time and you're not feeling anything release, I encourage you guys maybe to just move on to a different section that's close by, because typically if you're on a spot and it's just not releasing, something else close by is holding that tension there. So that's release number one on the glutes, and that is just a super nice one to help the hips loosen up, which in turn helps the lower back loosen up. Then, like I said, we're actually, I'm gonna stay with the tennis ball the whole time. You're gonna find a space a little bit more into the lateral hip. So lateral hip being side hip. find that bony landmark right up here, that big top, basically the top of your pelvic girdle, and you're just gonna start to walk your fingertips a little bit down, maybe just a little bit back, and see if you find a space that's kind of tender. And if you don't find it with your fingers, don't freak out about it, because typically once you get the tennis ball in there and you get a little weight on it, we're gonna start, so you've popped the tennis ball in the hip, and I like to start on my elbow. Ooh, yeah, hello. I like to start on my elbow. If you're not getting enough pressure and you wanna go all the way down on your side, that's awesome. But for me, starting here is just about as much discomfort as I'm gonna handle. And again, just breathe. Just breathe and give it some time. Breathe and give it some time, and you just feel things start to sink and alleviate. And if your body wants to shift around a little bit, or you want to sink in one direction versus the other, go for it. But just try to stay really chill on that tennis ball, lacrosse ball, whatever you're using. And feel, like, check in, see if you start to feel things relax. I just got a big release down in my hips, which was fantastic. I'm feeling a little bit of pulling up in my ribs, which is just, is what it is. And you just do this fantastic little release technique. We'll be here for like another minute or so. And just breathe. And maybe make a little micro adjustment. I'm actually kind of chilling on the spot I'm on. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna stay here actually, because I like this place. But if you wanna make just a teeny little movement, you might find another spot that's like, whoop, and then you just stay on that. And like I mentioned, my friend Dr. Jo, the fabulous physical therapist that she is, taught me this technique, and I use it very, very often now. I use it pretty much every single day to help me with release work. So I encourage you guys to combine this technique with some of the exercises that I did in the part 1 of this live series, which is in my Instagram live section and up on my YouTube. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the other side. If you guys wanna join me, come on over. So once again, you find that little space right underneath that big bony landmark, the pelvic girdle. Start to walk it down just a couple inches. Find that fleshy part of your glute, and let's chill on that. Not quite as bad on this side, I don't think. I could be premature in that. But anywho, I'm gonna try and convince my good friend Dr. Joanne Wolf, to do a video very similar to this, because she is just really, really fantastic at finding these like phenomenal niche spaces in your body. But these are just some very, very basic, very easy ones that I wanted to throw out today that you just might not know. Like, you might not know that your hips are super tight, and that could be contributing to your back pain. So just to give you guys some very basic things to use at home. These are fantastic techniques that you can use 10 minutes a day, and then you combine with the 5 minutes of the strengthening work in the other video, and boom, like you've got a really, really good regimen for yourself at home that's 15 minutes. So, and I am all about making things as efficient as possible when it comes to fitness, so you don't need to be doing things for an hour a day. If you have that kind of time, that's amazing. If not, the little things really do start to add up. Yeah, this side's not quite as bad. The right side's been feeling a little funky recently, it's funny. Alrighty. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll on up, because this side is feeling pretty good and I don't wanna mess with it too much. You guys wanna stay on it, that's fantastic. Give it a couple more minutes. If you're not, and you're done and you're good for the day, that's fantastic as well. But I am gonna sign off now just by saying I hope you guys enjoyed the live. I hope you guys got a little bit out of it. And if you've got any questions, because I know this is kind of a specific technique, please feel free to reach out to me. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys next week in another live, which we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into some more personal stuff. I am going to be talking a little bit more about my journey dealing with chronic pain issues, my journey into how I kind of came to be where I am right now in the fitness industry. And I'm excited and a little nervous to dive into all of this stuff with you guys, but I will be back next week with a follow-up live. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you guys later. Thanks, everybody.